Hello, welcome to Midday Live. I'm Stephen NT and we're coming to you live from our studios at Adisawe, Kanda in Accra. Let's start with our headlines this afternoon. Ghana Education Trust Fund denies awarding scholarship to 3 government appointees captured as beneficiaries in a performance audit report from the Auditor General. And Professor of Epidemiology at the University of Health and Allied Sciences, Professor Fred Binka, says chloroquine could come to the rescue of coronavirus patients. Also coming up this afternoon, the Nyasingbe dynasty to continue in Togo as for Nyasingbe is set to be heading towards victory in presidential elections in that country. Also in business this afternoon, customers of defunct microfinance companies to receive locked-up funds starting today. And also around the world, fears are growing that the coronavirus outbreak could become a pandemic as new cases are reported around the world. With all these stories plus very latest in sports and business coming up over the next hour. Now, the Auditor General's department says it did no wrong in its report faulting the GET Fund for its haphazard doling out of scholarship without recourse to its own laws. In a report with a gamut of infractions, the Auditor General said it found more than 1,002 beneficiaries who did not submit basic documents such as admission letters. Lead Auditor Alberta Owu has been speaking to my colleague Komla Kluche. Right, so the Auditor General's department says it did no wrong in its report faulting the GET Fund for its haphazard doling out of scholarships without recourse to its own laws. In a report, it stated numerous infractions. The Auditor General said it found more than 1,500 beneficiaries who did not submit basic documents such as admission letters. Lead Auditor Alberta Owu has been speaking to Komla Kluche. Right, we'll be getting that full story pretty shortly. But stakeholders working for sustainable development in northern Ghana are demanding a national cross-subsidization price policy on cement and other building materials. Officials of the Northern Development Forum simply do not understand why cement costs 20% higher in the northern part of Ghana.
Homeless and in need. Their homes were flattened in the 2019 October floods. 87 years old Ayambiri Aburu is one of the displaced and hangs in here. This is what is left of his house. A roofless structure accommodating him, his daughter, and a little one.
Sometimes I sit here till daybreak because I'm not able to sleep at night. I don't have anywhere to go.
Apio Anisaya also lives here with wife and children. The entire house was flooded and collapsed. Across the region, 2,222 houses totally collapsed and 3,920 had some rooms standing. But unsafe in the October floods, displacing 26,698 persons, according to regional authorities. Ahead of the rainy season, some have started to rebuild their homes, but with mud. Architectural experts say with climate change, the problem will worsen.
You see people's buildings collapsing. Meanwhile, there's no running water. The ground is saturated with water. So when the aquifer comes to the surface of the soil, then all the walls around the ground get wet and the mud is collapsing. And that is why you saw many people's homes collapsing. To prevent the buildings from collapsing, I think we have to change our architectural design with the climate change affecting us, to have concrete on the floor before you put the local mud on it.
Cement is the best for a solid foundation, but residents say the product is expensive. Many are therefore unable to acquire it. They therefore rely on mud to put a roof over their heads.
The flooding will make the place and the challenges of development even harsher. It happened last year. It happened a couple of years back. It happened 5 years hence. It happened 10 years hence. And each time it happens, it's as if we had no preparation at all for the next one.
From a disaster prevention and development point of view, stakeholders working for sustainable development in northern Ghana are demanding a cross-subsidization policy for cement and other building materials.
Let's get back to our very first story. Now, the Ghana Education Trust Fund has denied awarding scholarships to 3 government appointees whose names have been captured as beneficiaries in a performance audit report from the Auditor General's Office. The report, which spans between 2012 and 2018, was to ascertain whether GET Fund acted in accordance with its mandate.
The report listed the Minister for Education, Matthew Pokupempe, Procurement Minister, Sarah Adjoa-Safo, Minister for Employment, Ignatius Bafo-Ewua, and the Executive Secretary of the National Council for Curriculum and Assessments, NACA, Prince Hamidou Ama, as beneficiaries. The audit observed, among other things, a failure on the part of GET Fund in using a fair selection process, a situation it indicated allowed unqualified applicants to benefit rather than brilliant but needy Ghanaians. But the GET Fund refutes the observation of the audit and stated it is well within the mandate of the institution. The fund may, per its mandate, provide support for such other educational activities and programs to serve strategic national interests. The GET Fund insists the award of the scholarships to the 3 government appointees, though not out of place, did not happen under the watch of the current administration.
Let's get on to the telephone lines now and look at the anti-corruption perspective of this whole discussion. Adam Senanu is co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. He joins us now. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for your time. So I know that you've been taking a closer look at the Auditor General's document. Tell me what you make of it.
Well, good afternoon to your viewers. It came as a surprise to me because I was not aware that the GET Fund provides funding to MPs and the like for things like this. Albeit they explain that it's for strategic national purposes. Going into the documentation, it is good that the award did not happen under the current government when these persons were giving ministerial appointments, etc. Having said that, I think that one needs to interrogate whether truly the mandate of the GET Fund has that strategic aspect and whether we can claim that these trips to Harvard University, etc., were strategic and in the national interest. I think that until you have unpacked that, one cannot say whether something amiss has happened.
And so what actions do you reckon should be taken if there were to be some actions?
Well, I don't immediately see a conflict of interest situation. However, it could be a misapplication of the funds. And so what needs to be done is to find out how did they determine that this awards for the minister, Matthew Poku, to go to Harvard, and Adja Safo, who says she didn't end up going anyway, Harvard Kennedy, how they took that decision. And one needs to look at the criteria carefully, because we may be depriving truly vulnerable and poor citizens and young men and women of this country scholarships that ought to go to them if we take decisions like this.
And I know that the Get Fund law is clear. I mean, the funds they're supposed to make available to support education is supposed to be pre-secondary and then tertiary institutions within Ghana. But there are lots of the expenses we've seen that are for study abroad.
If there is no provision that requires or allows or mandates them to send people abroad, then we have a situation where somebody must be held culpable for breaching the laws of the country.
All right. Mr. Senanu, I will leave it here. We're grateful for your time.
Thank
you very much. Adam Senanu is anti-corruption campaigner, is a co-chair of the citizen movement against corruption. Let's now take you through some of what exactly the law says on Get Fund. And you may know that Section 2 of Act 581 spells out clearly the objective of the fund. And as you see here, it is to provide finance to supplement the provision of education at all levels by government. It also says, Section 2 says, for the purpose of attaining this objective, the money from the fund are to be expended in, let me go back quickly and give you a fair idea of So the purpose of obtaining this objective, the money from the fund right, so let's run you through this again. For the purpose of obtaining the objective of the scheme, every money from the fund is to be dispensed as follows, and they've been listed. The first is to provide financial support to agencies and institutions under the Ministry of Education through the ministry for the development and maintenance of essential academic activities and infrastructure in public education institutions. So these are very well laid out objectives. And then 2, to provide supplementary funding to the scholarship secretariat. So bear in mind that the Act says that the Get Fund is supposed to provide supplementary funding for the grant of scholarships to gifted but needy students for studies in second cycle and accredited tertiary institutions in Ghana, within Ghana. That's the key focus. And then to contribute monies from the fund towards the operation of student loan schemes for students in accredited tertiary institutions through loan scheme mechanisms and agencies approved by the ministry. And to provide through the National Council on Tertiary Education grants to tertiary institutions to train brilliant students and members of faculties to undertake research and other academic programs of relevance to national development, and to provide support, financial support to such educational activities and programs for the promotion of education as the minister in consultation with the board may determine. Right, let's quickly get onto the telephone lines. Vincent Assefa is the Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Education. Joining us, good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for your time. So I need you to clarify to us the conditions and circumstances that the GET Fund, for example, approved for funding for those who have been listed, including, as you may already know, the sums that were dispensed on Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, Adjoa Safo, and all the rest, actually.
Stephen, I'm not getting your question. Can you come clear?
So I'm asking you if you can explain to us the criteria or the principles or systems that each applicant will need to meet in order to get funding issued to them.
Well, I think you rightly put it. GET Fund is supposed to be giving scholarships to needy but gifted or brilliant students. But let me state that in 2018, at the instance of GET Fund, we realized that there are some anomalies as to the approach in the processes to which scholarships are awarded to beneficiaries of GET Fund in this country. And so we wrote or we requested from the Auditor General's Department to be able to undergo such a performance audit. And we had a report, and clearly we could see that from 2012 to 2018, and we have to get it right, the distinction is the academic year and not the fiscal year. From 2012 to 2018 academic year, we realized that there were a number of anomalies as to how students were getting GET Fund scholarships in this country, and for that matter, we had to make sure that the right processes are being followed before we could be able to give scholarship to students. So the process are that, yes, first and foremost, you need to be a needy student, a needy but brilliant or gifted student, number one. Secondly, you must have also applied or shown some amount of willingness to get funds that you need such a scholarship. And thirdly, the committee who sits on it will have to also go through and ascertain that indeed you are a needy and a gifted student for that matter before such award could be made to you. However, that is not sacrosanct. If you read the Act, that is the Act 581, and you read the subsection 2E, clearly it states that some amount of monies may be dispensed to some other educational activities. And so at that section, it may not necessarily be for needy but brilliant students, but for promotion of education in this country, the minister, in consultation with the Board of Trustees, may decide to support any students in this country for promotion of education.
Right. So I mean, I acknowledge that explanation, but I am concerned, very concerned, that if we look at the list of beneficiaries, some who are pretty well-known, popular persons, they cannot be said to be needy. And some of the programs they studied, PhD in law and media studies and all those things. How do we justify that these are of relevance to the country's developments and from people who possibly could afford?
Which names are you referring to, Stephen?
Well, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the list.
Current administration has ever.
I'm sure you've seen the list, so I don't want to be going on a name mentioning spree.
I'm not saying the basis for it, but you see, the answer may also lie in subsection 2 of 581, Stephen. And I'm saying that GET Fund scholarships are not necessarily supposed to be given to needy but brilliant students. Yes, it serves as the core mandate of GET Fund, but the law opens it up that if the country or the nation will want to also ensure promotion of education, then some monies may be dispensed for other purposes. So it is possible that the minister, I'm not saying any minister has benefited from GET Fund, but I'm saying that it is possible that the minister or a member of parliament, they benefit from GET Fund, but for the purposes of promotion of education in this country. And I think that when you put the interpretation to it, in my estimation, it will not falter the law.
And the law itself also clearly spells out the conditions under which monies will be expended, that those who are sponsored or funded should be within institutions within Ghana. But a tall list of what we have seen suggests that most of the funding was for study abroad.
Well, I think that is where we'll be in ad item. I am saying this because we suspected the anomalies, and that is why we caused for the audit the performance audit in the processes of the awarding of scholarships. And so that is where going forward as a nation, we should be able to have a way to be able to deal with it. But I will also take a different position in this angle, especially because when we want to promote education, the law was not circular, the law was not explicit to say that it will have to happen in Ghana. Although needy but brilliant students who are supposed to be getting scholarship in this country are supposed to be happening in Ghana, and put differently, Get Fund is supposed to be able to sponsor these students in Ghana here. But if you want to promote education in Ghana, however shape it will take or form it will take, that we can bring the needed promotion of education in this country, then so be it. And so it may be outside, because we've lived in this country whereby all of us knew that shall will have to mean mandatory as per our law.
Right.
By the time came, we realized that shall was not mandatory. So I think that it may take any other shape or form.
Right, so let me clarify. You are suggesting to us that the performance audit conducted by the Auditor General was at your insistence or instructions or directive?
Absolutely, Stephen.
And so what becomes of the outcomes now that this audit has come forward? What can you tell us to be the steps that the ministry is hoping to put in place to fix the mess, actually?
Well, that's obvious. If you check the report itself, it tells you that the period of 2012-2016, there were budget overrun of about 300%. So, ab initio, when we got the mandate from the people of Ghana in 2016, clearly the only approach for us was to ensure that we will not give any scholarship to anybody at all for the period of 4 years before we'll be able to pay up the debt that we came to meet. That was the reckless administration of the SWAL government. That is enough. We had to take that innovative ideas, the innovative ways to be able to still or continue awarding scholarship to students in this country. And that is where for the first time you could see that Get Fund.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Scholarship or sponsorship to students in this country. So somebody will get an admission to University of Ghana, will be paying about 5,000 or 6,000.
Right.
But Get Fund will now give partial payment of about 3,000 or 2,500. That's partial payment. So we have to use innovative ways to continue giving scholarships people in Ghana, especially needy students. But going forward, I think that it is a responsibility of Get Fund and the Ministry of Education to be able to sit down to see how best we will be able to correct the anomalies that we find in our Get Fund structure.
Right, Vincent Sefa, thank you very much. Vincent Sefa is Director of Communications at the Ministry of Education. Now, Professor of Epidemiology at the University of Health and Allied Sciences, Fred Binka, says current reports suggest that the popular drug for the cure of malaria, chloroquine, has been certified as having the capabilities to cure coronavirus. The former Vice Chancellor of the University of Health and Allied Sciences revealed this while sharing his thoughts of a possible treatment plan for this novel virus on Key Points last Saturday.
In another 3 weeks, there will be a lot of drugs that will come online. People are doing the test. They need about a month to 6 weeks to be able to do the test. I read about a new finding which made me a bit happy. They found that chloroquine in China has been now certified. Chloroquine, our famous chloroquine.
Which we sidelined at some point, right?
Has been found to be able to treat this virus. So that's where the problem is. You know, once we don't find a way to treat it, that's where the panic starts.
Right.
This is still Midday Live from our studios at Desawe Kanda in Accra. We'll be back with more news. Please stay.
As you step out today, remember that the Aloes are no good people.
I'm in love. She's a Vera, Lynn.
How could you be in love with a Vera? You have to stop this feeling.
It's too late, Aludin. It's already entered my system.
Why can't I love whom my heart wants?
Oh, shut up. You think you're the wisest among the Veras? If you see an aloe or anything belonging to them on your land, blow your whistle.
You cannot sing with a Vera. How hard is it for you to understand that you cannot do anything with them? You see, you have disgraced me.
You're beautiful.
T.I. Amas Kumasi is 70 years. Under the distinguished chairmanship of the Amir and missionary in charge of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission, you are cordially invited to the 70th anniversary celebration. Date, Saturday, 29th February 2020. Time, 9 a.m. Venue, T.I. Amas School Field. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana. Guest of honor, His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, the Asante Hene. Guest speaker, Justice Mariama Owusu of the Supreme Court. Theme, 70 years of quality education at T.I. Amas Kumasi. Prospects and challenges. All students and the general public are cordially invited.
Yes. This boy Palm. My
Why is one of us seminar? Kojo. Rakojo. That's seminar why.
Where is the mother so?
Me who you?
I guess seminar one at June say. Mother soap there. After using it, there will be more left for us to use.
Mother, easy, ama.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Mr. Wa na menye late white time so 1:30.
Hello. Oui, hame papa.
Asambeni. Hey, Mrs. Watt. Na yam sir.
Me phone na hame.
Want a Franco Trading Enterprise. Oppo original phones, latest phones, phone accessories, laptops, printers, LED flat screens. Ni na Franco Trading Enterprise. Na phone be and I'll be.
Me pacho me pe Samsung latest phones.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Franco Trading Enterprise.
Pacho mami Samsung latest one.
Pacho, Pacho.
Oh wow, thank you.
Franco Trading Enterprise. Phone papa I.
Hello, my name is Stephen Eku, the CEO of Emigo Ghana Limited, producers of Yomi Yogurt. Join me on this Monday, 24 February 2020, on Time with the Captains on TV3 to discuss business, entrepreneurship, and leadership. See you.
Make a date with Time with the Captains on TV3.
Right, so let's do our MTN video reports now from our citizen journalists.
Dua is a village under the Bongo district of the Upper East region in Ghana with 5 suburbs, located at the east of the district capital, but it looks as if the physical shielding of the Dua village had also hidden it of infrastructural development by the district assembly. Do not be misled by the visible developmental projects found within the village by the individual citizenry of the area. In recent months, this beautifully constructed and furnished kids and maternity ward was donated to the Bongo Hospital in the district capital by an individual family from the Dua village. This road, part in Bolgatanga and the other in the Bongo district, had for the past 2 decades denied the citizenry access to both towns, until an assembly member from the Dua village, out of the many, broke his spine right here on this road. None like this had been found here. If honor is due to those deserving it, then Dua village, which produced a chief director of energy, a CEO of Gridco, an ambassador of Ghana to Nigeria, and many more, should not be so neglected by a district assembly. Philip Ayanura Kelasori, reporting from Bongo Dua.
Now let's go back to our earlier story. Professor of Epidemiology at the University of Health and Allied Sciences, Fred Binka, says the current report suggests that the popular drug for the cure of malaria, chloroquine, has been certified as having the capabilities to cure coronavirus. The former Vice Chancellor of the University of Health and Allied Sciences revealed this while sharing his thoughts of a possible treatment plan for this novel virus last Saturday on Key Points.
In another 3 weeks, there will be a lot of drugs that will come online. People are doing the test. They need about a month to 6 weeks to be able to do the test. I read about a new finding which made me a bit happy. They found that chloroquine in China has been now certified. Chloroquine, our famous chloroquine,
which we sidelined at some point,
has been found to be able to treat this virus. So that's where the problem is. You know, once we don't find a way to treat it, that's where the panic starts.
Professor Binka is joining us now. Let's quickly get to him on phone. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much. We're grateful you could join us. So give us a fair idea. Which report have you read that suggests that this popular chloroquine drug can cure coronavirus?
Well, I think the issue of chloroquine treating viruses has been here for a very long time. And let me remind all of you, when in Ghana here, in times past, you had malaria, you had this herpes around your mouth, and after taking the chloroquine treatment, the herpes disappeared. I hope you remember what the herpes is about. Those are viruses that affect the lips that you tend to have, and chloroquine was able to cure them. We also had already known that chloroquine does infect the HIV type 1 virus. It kills, but is not a cure for it. And many other viruses. In fact, when the SARS came some time back, about 5 years or 6 years ago, we also knew that SARS could do something about that. In fact, what chloroquine does is that the molecule is able to enter the cells of the virus. The chloroquine itself is a weak base, but the viruses are, the internal composition of the viruses, the cells of the viruses are very acidic. So it raises the pH within the cells and then disrupts the multiplication. In addition, it also affects some enzymes that are released. We call them the interleukin factors that are released when the cells are being killed. It modulates that, and because of that, it's able to affect the temperature. So you get a quick reduction in temperature which this virus causes, and it also cuts down on its replication, and thereby to contribute to the treatment of the coronavirus.
But chloroquine, as we know it, has its own pretty harsh reactions for people who are administered chloroquine. I remember clearly when I was a child and I got infected with malaria and I took chloroquine. It made me more sick and I got severe reactions, including terrible itches. And, you know, I mean, by the time you got well, you're being much more battered by taking chloroquine than if you did not. And so I wonder under which condition you have read that chloroquine will be that useful under these conditions also, or you would say that the effects of chloroquine we have in the tropics might be different from in China, for example?
No, definitely we are talking about the same thing. They are the same viruses that will show up in China and in Ghana. Those reactions that we are talking about are important. A small part of the chloroquine story. In fact, in this country, I don't think there's any drug that has been consumed more than chloroquine. Millions of doses of chloroquine have been consumed and have saved many, many, many lives. We can deal with those reactions, but you should also remember that people are dying from the coronavirus and death. People will say, so everybody will prefer to eat for a day or two and be alive than not to eat and die.
So, I mean, if chloroquine was banned in Ghana, for example, for the treatment of malaria, I mean, how then do we, for example, expect that it can be useful again if it happens? I'm not suggesting that coronavirus should be here, but if it does come here, we will apply the same method, chloroquine, which has been banned in Ghana for the treatment of malaria?
So, at the moment, the trials are going on because they have people with the coronavirus in China. We don't have coronavirus here in Ghana. So the tests for treatment are recruiting these people, and they have been found to recover quickly. Within a week, those who have been on chloroquine have shown much, much better recovery. And their tests have become negative. It affects the DNA, the RNA component of the test that are done. So if it were to come here, it will be the same. In fact, chloroquine is banned for the use in treatment of malaria. We sometimes use chloroquine to treat arthritis because of this effect on the arthritis. So it's not that it's a drug that doesn't exist, but it is not prescribed for use in the treatment of malaria in Ghana today.
All right, so let's come to Ghana, still stay in Ghana with, I want to know whether you are aware whether the Noguchi Medical Center is treating this news, that is the potential of chloroquine, whether they are treating it with positive outlook, and whether they've carried out any tests so far.
That makes me laugh a bit, sorry. At Ghana, we are behind issues. In fact, if somebody were to say he's working on coronavirus in Ghana, I'm sure they will arrest the person and put him in jail. So, on the lighter side, no, I don't think Noguchi nor any lab in this country is working on coronavirus.
All right, Professor Binka, we're grateful for your time. Thank you very much, Professor Binka is a former Vice Chancellor of the University of Health and Allied Sciences. This is Midday Live from our studios at Adesawe, from the News Hub at Adesawe, Kanda in Accra. Now, elsewhere, for Nyazingbe, candidate for his own succession, is proclaimed re-elected after February 22nd, 2020 polls. He polled 72.36%, well ahead of all the other 6 opposition candidates, according to provisional results announced late on the evening of February 23 by the Independent National Electoral Commission. For Nyazingbe alone brings together 72.36% of the votes against 18.37% of Abayome Mesan, Gabriel Kojo, and 3.34% for the former opposition leader Jean-Pierre Fabre. And Aim Gogi consoles himself with 2.3%, while Komi Wolu got 1.1%. Right, let's get onto the telephone lines. Speak with Bernard Mona, who has just returned from Togo. He's joining us on the phone. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much. So, tell me what your observations were.
Well, generally the atmosphere was calm, except that there is widespread demand for change in Togo, but the regime will not permit the people of Togo's mandate to prevail. As you are aware, Dr. Abe Yome is the outright winner, but the Electoral Commission just at dawn declared for Nyazingbe of having obtained about 72%, leaving many Togolese in bewilderment, because from all the polling stations and the collation of results that we have taken, and for fear that these results will even, as we know, they are making attempts to collect the clean sheets from the people. Some of these things have been taken away from the shores of Togo in order that they can make a case at the Constitutional Court of the widespread irregularity that took place, and that the results that are declared by the Electoral Commission does not reflect the true will of the people of Togo.
Right.
Calm is currently maintained in Togo, but I can tell you that in spite of the fact that Dr. Agbeyome's house has been cordoned, I can tell you on authority that he's not even in the house as the soldiers are there. Many things are happening as to frustrate and intimidate the people from protesting against the stolen verdict of the people of Togo.
So, Mr. Mona, I need to establish what actually took you to Togo and how you were able to enter that country, considering that there was an outright ban on even the withdrawal of accreditation for the local observer mission. The accreditation was withdrawn. What took you there, and how did you enter?
Well, it will be suicidal for me to expose the manner in which I entered Togo, and it will also even be difficult for me to tell you the manner in which the opposition leader cannot be found in his house. But I've just given you this clue for you to understand that no matter what the government of Fonyasinga and the military will do in Togo, people will still be able to enter Togo and to obtain first-hand information on the ground. And as you know, as at the day before yesterday, even in Kara, where Fonyasinga comes from, the verdict was that he was losing in that particular state. In Mauritania and also Plateau State, which constitute about 2/3 of the votes or the electorate in Togo, it took the opposition, Dr. Abayome, to win. So it's amazing that somebody who was leading with such a huge margin, just overnight, would have lost all that margin to Fonyasinga because he is the establishment candidate.
All right, Mr. Mona, thank you very much for your time. Let's get back to GetFund. The Auditor General's department says it did no wrong in its report, faulting the GetFund for a haphazard doling out of scholarships without recourse to its own laws. In a report with which cites a myriad of infractions, the Auditor General said it found more than 1,200 beneficiaries who did not submit basic documents such as admission letters. Lead Auditor Alberta Owu has been speaking to Komala Kluche.
The audit performance of the Auditor General on the administration of scholarships by the Ghana Education Trust Fund, was simply the GET Fund, has caused a lot of uproar in the country. A lot of names have been mentioned as receiving scholarship as needy students, most especially abroad. Well, the main architect of this report is the Audit Service, and the team leader is here joining us to give us some explanations as to how they came about this report and whether due diligence was done. Alberta Owu is the lead auditor for the GET Fund audits. What specifically were you looking at with respect to the GET Fund?
Well, the purpose of the audit was to ascertain whether GET Fund acted in accordance to its act in administering scholarships in Ghana. So that's what the focus of the audit was on.
So when you did that, your conclusion was what?
Our conclusion was that GET Fund didn't follow the procedures in administering scholarships in Ghana because there are policies and procedures to follow as an institution to administer scholarship, and also according to the mandate of GET Fund. The mandate of GET Fund, according to their act, is to provide scholarship to Ghanaian students.
You give me an education. You went to the GET Fund, you went into their books, and you realized that they had flouted their own rules. Were there supporting documents they gave you to indicate that yes, indeed, these monies were disbursed?
Yes, please. We reviewed their documents pertaining to applications from beneficiaries. We reviewed documents on approvals. We reviewed the bank statements, transfer letters to the banks, and also the SWIFT, that is the transfers from the banks to the schools. We reviewed all these documents and they were all available. They were made readily available to us by GET Fund.
And what was one compelling thing, or the most compelling thing, is when you were reviewing the bank statement, most especially from GET Fund, the monies were released? Do you say that was exactly what you found out?
Yes. The SWIFT, so far as they are SWIFT, then it means that the money has left the banks to the accounts of the schools. So the monies were released to the schools. Yes.
But were you able to verify whether indeed the students who have been mentioned have indeed received the monies or not?
monies to the schools were released to the schools. Those ones don't go to the accounts of the students. It is the stipends, that is the living allowance, that went to students. The Get Fund had records on the receipts, that is the letters, so they had confirmation letters that states that this amount of money should be transferred to beneficiary A or beneficiary B who is in this school. So we saw those confirmation letters, and then we saw that.
This is still Midday Live from our studios at Addis Ababa, Kanda. Up next is business. Welcome back to business now. Customers of defunct microfinance and financial institutions whose funds were locked up during the closure are being paid today. Our reporter Ebenezer Jakumhine is on the ground from CBG and is joining us with details. Eben.
Address. He indicated starting from today, all customers of the defunct 23 savings and loans institutions will be paid. And I was expecting a lot of these customers at the branches of CBG, but it's not the situation this afternoon. What you are witnessing behind me is the number of operations that going on in that building and the other branches. But the information I have is that they're not going to invite all the customers to come in and get their locked up funds. What is going to happen is that after the validation, which has been done already, the receiver, which is from PricewaterhouseCoopers, is going to send an electronic message, a message to all of the customers. So if you receive a message indicating the money that you are to be paid with an account number, that means the receiver has opened accounts for each of the customers of these collapsed savings and loans companies. So you get a text message indicating the amount you are to be paid and the account number. So you go to any of the branches of the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited, present that electronic check, then it will be put into your account. Then you can later or that day withdraw the money from your account, or decide to stay with the bank as a bankee. So that is the situation now. So the customers that are listening to us, you cannot go into any of the branches unless you have a message from the receiver indicating your money and the account number, and that will allow the Consolidated Bank to do your payment for you, and the money will be put into the account that has been opened for you by the receiver.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Absolutely stunning.
Tiger completes one of the greatest comebacks in Masters history.
Oh, Durant throws it down. Oh, that's...
To get the shot on. He's done it again.
Sports Station shows Mondays at 9 p.m. Brought to you by Betway. Ghana AIDS Commission.
Hello, my name is Stephen Eku, the CEO of Emigo Ghana Limited, producers of Yomi Yogurt. Join me on this Monday, 24 February 2020, on Time with the Captains on TV3 to discuss business, entrepreneurship, and leadership. See you.
Make a date with Time with the Captains on TV3.
Hello, good afternoon, and it's time for us to bring you the latest in the world of sports right here on Media Live. My name is Theo Winyana. Ghanaian top flight side Great Olympics have offered a trial opportunity to an imprisoned goalkeeper whose talents came to light in a football documentary. Now, TV3's Juliet Bewua aired her documentary titled Football Behind Bars this month, which showed Abuaji saving several penalty kicks in an internal competition for prisoners in Ghana. Bring him to us and would give him a chance, such a talented kid. And that's exactly what Great Olympics wrote on the official Twitter handle in response to the documentary. Now in Spain, one man is certainly struggling. And I'm talking about the player who moved all the way from Chelsea to Real Madrid, Eden Hazard. Now he will miss the first leg of Real Madrid's Champions League last 16 tie against Manchester City after breaking his ankle. The 29-year-old limped off during Saturday's 1-0 defeat at Levante in La Liga. It was only his second match since returning from ankle injury, which had kept him out of action for almost 3 months. Real Madrid's next 2 games are at home to Manchester City in the Champions League on February 26, followed by the El Clasico against Barcelona at the Bernabeu on March 1st. So as Hazard left Chelsea, the Blues have been struggling to find a replacement, and maybe it could be this man. Hakim Ziyech has signed a 5-year deal with Chelsea ahead of his move to Stamford Bridge this summer. The Blues announced earlier this month they had agreed a £33.3 million deal with Ajax to sign the 26-year-old attacking midfielder at the end of the season, subject to him agreeing personal terms. Ziyech has now agreed those terms and told Chelsea on the official website, and I quote, "I'm delighted and proud to have signed for a huge club as Chelsea. I'm looking forward to next season and hope we can achieve great things together." On to the National Basketball Association. I'm talking the NBA, and when James had the chance Sunday to make another significant mark in his chapter of the NBA history, he stepped back and did it with pleasure. LeBron James scored 29 points and put the Lakers ahead on a fall-away jumper with a 30-second to play, and Los Angeles splits its season series with Boston in 114-112 victory. James also had 9 assists and 8 rebounds in another superb all-round game to put the Lakers ahead to stay in their 5th straight win overall. On that note, to bring an end to the sports here on Media Live, my name is Theo Winyana. Thanks for joining me. We'll bring some more sports subsequently right here on TV3. We've got some international news for you.
Much Thierry for the latest in sports. Now to some international news. Fears are growing that the coronavirus outbreak could become a pandemic as new cases are reported around the world. Most infections are in China, but other countries including South Korea, Italy and Iran are battling to contain the virus, which causes the respiratory disease coronavirus 19. A pandemic is declared when an infectious disease threatens different parts of the world simultaneously. No vaccine is available so far to prevent the new coronavirus from spreading. $27,000 people in China, where the virus emerged last year, have been infected and nearly 2,600 have died. More than 1,200 cases have been confirmed in 26 other countries, and there have been 8 deaths the World Health Organization has said. And up next is entertainment. And Tamale-based rapper Optional King, born Mohammed Lukman, is the proud winner of TV3's Mentor Reloaded. The rapper and storyteller was in a class of his own as he delivered an impressive performance of Fela Kuti's Zombie, further stealing the show with an original rap song creatively delivered in his local dialect. The stellar performance wowed judges and won the 21-year-old the ultimate prize of a 2-bedroom apartment. He spoke to Owusu Warai after the victory.
This has been a fight we have really started from scratch, going around soliciting for votes for him, and then even up to here. At a point, we felt a bit nervous. Some of the fans were really just on their toes to get on the board, but at long last, we realized everything was free and fair, and that's what we prayed for, and that's what we really had. I must be sincere with you. I really can't tell how I feel about my brother winning, becoming first.
This is the reality. The North is here. There's no competition again. All that we can say is this is the beginning of the entry of the North. It's not going to end now. All we want people to understand is that it is about talent. And that talent, if you want to find it in Ghana, go else nowhere apart from you get to the North.
Your expectation of
very well. What we expected is being come to true. But we just want to say thank you to the Most High God. We want to say a very big thank you to our king, the king of Dagbon, Ndaniyana. I mean, he has been so supportive of this whole initiative, and we are winning for him. He is the king of Dagbon, and he's happy. And now there's peace in Dagbon, and we are all happy.
Impression of the win?
I was actually streaming live on my Facebook wall, and I just knew we were going to win. Like, the energy from day one, it has always been there, and I wanted to be here. I didn't need to be told the story. I wanted to be here and see history being made. I'm so happy, like very, very excited. Like, I'm happy to be here today because I left home and came to school. I've not been able to watch the rest of the game till the final, and so I'm very happy I was here, and I'm very happy when I was there and they announced Optional King as the winner. He's a legend. Seriously, I'm happy.
I can't imagine the feeling. All the way from the northern region, you can see them behind us. The energy is real. Today I'm proud of Northerners, and I want to tell them they should keep supporting the talent. Optional King is a fighter, and it's a real definition of talent. We are so much proud of him. Optional King all the way. We want the 2-bedroom apartment. We are going there straight tonight.
Right, so congratulations to Optional King for winning that coveted award of a 2-bedroom house. I'm Stephen Enti. I'm happy for him, and I hope you are too. There's more news on 3news.com. On behalf of the crew here, good afternoon.